Hello and good afternoon to MMPC 11, Unit 12 of Block 4 on Organizational Citizenship Behavior. We must have come across several of those viral videos of kindness when a stranger comes and lends a helping hand to a person who is struggling, and then there is a message in the action, and a contagious effect follows thereby. Again, a domino effect, we can say, and the person who received the help in turn tends to help another. And then we also have come across several situations and stories where we have read about and heard about the Good Samaritan. Where do these people get a heart to render that kind of a service when they are not expected to come forward to help people? Now, one needs that kind of a feeling for the other, an empathy for other, and one should have an opinion and intention to spontaneously, voluntarily help someone. And this kind of an attitude of someone coming forward unsolicited, voluntarily extending help to others in the organization is what we refer to as organizational citizenship behavior. These actions are not mandatory. These actions are absolutely voluntary in the sense the doer comes forward to extend that kind of a help or support to others in order to get the other person accomplish or complete their task and the organization at large to be benefited. So, a voluntary, unsolicited, spontaneous action executed by any employee. It can also be referred as this employee taking that extra mile or say above and beyond one's limitation. Attempts to help others at work is what we term as organizational citizenship behavior. This individual does not expect to be rewarded, appreciated, or in any ways returned with the benefit. Without any such expectation, this individual voluntarily does something for someone which is also not abiding by their job role. Okay. And also with an intention to improve the other individual's performance or enable some kind or facilitate some kind of a enhancement of the other person's skill, or to avoid someone else falling into trouble, right? So we can very categorically notice certain things, like one is the act doesn't fall under the doer's role responsibility, but the individual does it. Number two, he or she neither expects a return, a favor in return, or a reward or an appreciation, but if they are appreciated, they very well feel better about the situation. And the third is, this certainly contributes to the organizational benefit, or it helps someone improve it. Now, we notice that this is possible by certain individuals in an organization, and this benefits the other individuals and the organization. If so, the organization has noticed several such instances where people come forward to exhibit the organizational citizenship behavior. and organizations started encouraging this kind of a behavior from employees. And so organizations these days do certain things. One is to include the OCB as a measuring instrument, not an instrument other, it's just a measure of an individual's behavior in performance appraisal. uh, in the sense like it's a brownie point added to the individual's conduct and citizenship, or that very belongingness to the organization. No wonder the organization considers these individuals as assets of the organization, who bring in that positive energy, who bring in that kind of a spirit, who bring in that kind of a positive vibe in the environment of the organization, where more people start contributing in this fashion and in this spirit. And the benefit is experienced both by the individuals and the organization. Uh, some organizations even started rewarding such employees who exhibit the OCB to encourage others who can also come forward, thereby spreading this spirit of helping each other. So we can now identify OCB, or organizational citizenship behavior. I would refer it as OCB to save on time as well. So OCB can be identified to exist in two forms in an organization. One is organizational citizenship behavior directed towards organization, and which is referred as OCBO, and organizational citizenship behavior directed towards an individual, which is referred as OCBI. OCBO is the extra role behavior which is directly benefiting the organization as a whole. And OCBI is the extra role behavior that benefits an individual, a fellow colleague, right? So let us take an example. OCBO, one of the best example can be a clean drive to keep the surroundings clean, or maybe a small yoga camp by one of the employees who's benefited by yoga and is a regular practitioner of yoga, feels that he should benefit the other fellow employees and will conduct a program on one of the weekdays, weekends or holidays, to benefit his fellow members, to relieve from stress. So this benefits because people get rejuvenated when they get back to work. So this is for the organization. It may not add directly to the organization, but then the rejuvenated employees, the energy which they carry after such a event will contribute to the productivity and efficiency of the individuals in the organization. Okay. OCBI, we can take an example like someone helping a colleague to complete an assignment if he or she has got some free time, or maybe someone is struggling on an Excel sheet, and one can step forward and voluntarily help the person. The other person not only will learn the way, but also will save a lot of time and avoid further struggling to complete the work. Okay. Now, what are the dimensions of OCB? Um, it is usually two dimensions that we see predominantly. One is altruism, and the other is the general compliance. Altruism, like the word suggests, is doing good for the other person. It is like going beyond one's job rules and helping someone, helping a fellow worker, regardless of the hierarchy at times, regardless of the role or status of the individual. um, because there is no formal structure in this. So one can intend to help anybody with that good feeling of that humanistic drive the person bears and comes forward to help. So this can be something like a very senior employee helping a newcomer, pretty junior. So and maybe with some complaints, with some kind of a paperwork or documentation, or maybe a process. The senior comes forward and helps the junior. The junior certainly will have a lot of hesitation to seek help. So the senior voluntarily comes forward and helps. So this is altruism, keeping aside one's role, status, ego. One comes forward, and isn't it such a wonderful gesture by a senior executive coming forward to help the junior? I'm not categorizing here a junior being helped by senior, but then there's one such case where there are no boundaries, no limitations, right? Okay. And the other is the general compliance where people are doing things right and properly for their own sake. Okay. Um, like I want to, I'm trying something new, and with the very first attempt of doing a work, I want to do it flawlessly. So the company will be benefited, the organization will be benefited, I will be benefited, but this is a general compliance. My task, I want to do it in a fashion that I wouldn't have to redo something. So by saving the organization's time, by saving my individual time, I want to do it better. So this is a general compliance that I do. There are other scientists who came up with and philosophers who came up with other suggestions, and they said besides altruism, there is something called conscientiousness. And conscientiousness refers to the impersonal behavior that benefits the organization as a whole. Examples can be like someone not using the entire set of leaves available to someone, and they feel that if this time, since I'm not availing a leave, I do not require to go on a leave, I did rather work for the organization. This is someone's conscientiousness, which helps the person to deliver an additional service unsolicited, unexpected by the organization, but out of individual interest. There can be other examples like completing a task before a deadline, and then the slack period available, the free time available. They can do some other work or be prepared for the next task coming, right? So this is again benefiting the organization at large, right? Okay. The besides altruism and conscientiousness, we have something called sportsmanship. Often we say someone, we appreciate people to be bearing that sportsmanship when they overlook the difficulties and problems and focus and direct their energies towards something progressive, constructive, and this is sportsmanship. So if we are not happy with what is happening in the organization and we start discussing with people, gossiping with people, complaining about the setbacks, we are in turn affecting and spreading negative energy. So a person with sportsmanship overlooks those flaws and tries to find out a solution to overcome such a situation and go beyond, to overtake such a situation and overcome the situation and resolve the problem. So that is sportsmanship. So taking the complaint, the problems into one's hand and finding out a solution without wasting time and using the time constructively to come up with a solution. Right. The next is courtesy. A courtesy helps prevent problems and facilitates constructive use of time, like sharing the information. One should have the courtesy to inform others. One should have the courtesy to keep the others in the team informed about certain status, certain information which they have received or acquired or gained through some sources. One needs to share it. Now, uh, say like I want to take a leave and I'll be on a vacation for a few days. And who would know this? The HR would know this. Maybe my reporting boss would know this. If I have the general courtesy to inform my team members and fellow colleagues about my absence and how they can reach me if they need me during this time I am availing my vacation, then I'm said to be having the courtesy, because in my absence, if there is a requirement of any of my services, it shouldn't take the other fellows employees by surprise that they are helpless now with my absence. They may not be aware of about my leave, and the work gets stuck. The work doesn't progress. So it is my courtesy to keep them informed, and uh, this wouldn't block the progress of the work. The last one is what we call the civic virtue, which talks about promoting in the promoting the interest of the organization, and examples can be like volunteering and heading a team towards some CSR activity, right? We notice like there are certain people in the near society where they have some trouble, and one can initiate a CSR program um, to benefit the society where we are operating. So some kind of a CSR activity when we do, the organization benefits as well. Okay. Now, we have understood what OCB is. We have understood different forms of OCB. Now let us see like what contributes to OCB, or what is an antecedent to OCB, or what results in an OCB of an individual. What makes a person exhibit that kind of a behavior? Where does that come from? What is the source of this, right? So the antecedents of OCB we will discuss now. Okay. If we have an instrumental leader, or if we have a charismatic leader, or we may have a supportive or a transformational leader who infuses that humanitarian interest in us and that altruism in an individual, and the individual in turn comes forward to help fellow colleagues. But what if there isn't such a leadership? Do we still have OCB? Yes. It is a self-motivated interest which may lead to OCB. A person wants to do good to others. A person wants to have that feeling of happiness helping others. So this is one. There can be reasons like the relation between the leader and the member, and the exchanges between them. That means the subordinate and the superiors interaction and interrelationship is such that it leads to the goodness and the spirit of extending a helping hand to people when required. And if such a LMX is high, then this will result in mutual trust and affiliation towards each other. And they will have a tendency to raise each other, lift each other, elevate each other, right? Help each other grow. Now, this kind of a spirit, when it imbibes into an individual, the individual automatically comes forward, steps forward to help people. Uh, it may so happen that a small gesture of doing good to someone is reciprocated by a small reward or a recognition, and that may drive someone to repeat this behavior more often. A reinforcement, right? So it may also make an individual do more good. Well, this is like in a superficial way we understand like this, but let us understand what are those specific antecedents which result in OCB or organizational citizenship behavior. Job satisfaction. An individual employee is so very much happy with his or her job, uh, and with a high level of such job satisfaction, they are more likely to engage in OCB because they are in that good spirit, good mood, and that satisfaction and spreading the satisfaction, that happiness to others comes by making others happy, and to make others happy, they indulge in such uh, activities like helping each other. And such people also stay in the organization for a long time. So job satisfaction leads to certain OCB, and this in turn develops an atmosphere environment for the individual to cherish the moments, and they feel good and they stay for a longer time, right? So that's the consequence, of course. But then the antecedent here is the job satisfaction. Uh, and for that reason, many people, even if they find certain tasks to be a little difficult or problematic, they try to bring in that cheer in their work, that they try to bring in that competence in themselves personally and technically, and do the work in such a manner that they derive satisfaction out of it, and this in turn will bring them the OCB spirit. Okay. Effective organizational commitment. Effective organizational commitment arises from a strong belief and acceptance of the organizational goals. Why am I doing this job? How does it how does it benefit me? How does it satisfy me? uh, Not every job will be paying you for the effort you put, but then there is an aspect of satisfaction that makes an individual happy. So if one understands the goals of one's task, role, and responsibility, and the organizational goal for which they are accomplishing the individual goals, now they get again some satisfaction and a strong desire to maintain that membership in the organization. They keep extending their services as some OCB acts. Okay. Now, effective organizational commitment enhances the OCB without any expectation of rewards, and people keep doing it. The third is the organizational justice. Uh, it is the feeling whether the organization decisions are unbiased, and if employee opinions is considered, that means they are given some level of respect and regard, and they are included in the activities. That is the participative kind of a management, and the employee feels recognized. The employee's talent and competence uh, is recognized, and that kind of giving an equal, I mean, they considered equally, right? And they are looked up by the management with a equanimous eye. Now they feel good, and this equal treatment towards all. with respect to the training they are provided, the tenure they are provided, or the responsibility or the workload. If there is a uniformity amongst the members, among the employees, then they again is a feel good factor, and this satisfaction also leads people to do more good in the form of OCBs. Group characteristics also affects OCB, like the cohesiveness in the group, or the say like the teamwork, the exchanges, or the fellow feeling, or the group potency, or the group's approach to each other, helping each other, the general sharing of the platform. So all this also leads to certain OCB. Uh, then we come across this perceived organizational support, which refers to the employee's perception concerning the extent to which the organization values their work, their contribution, or and they care about the well-being of the individual. So the support they receive from the organization. So when an individual feels that they are supported by the organization, then again this creates a feel-good factor, and they want to spread this feel-good factor through the OCB. And the last one is the perceived supervisor support. In short, the perceived organizational support is referred as POS, and the perceived supervisor support is referred as PSS. The immediate supervisor should be having a mutual affiliation with the employee and would be always by their side, helping, suggesting, facilitating, uh, and valuing their contributions or opinions or gestures or ideas, and give them a participative role in, to understand their role, their responsibilities, and help in accomplishing their task. Such supportive supervisor will also create that feel good factor in the individual, and the individual indulges into OCBs. Right? Okay. We have understood what is OCB. We have understood where does OCB come from, or the antecedents of OCB. Now let us understand the consequences of OCB. Does it really do good to the individual, his fellow employees, and the organization? And if so, how does it do that good? First of all, it maximizes the performance of the employees in various dimensions. Their performance, the fellow employee performance, and the overall performance of the organization, the productivity and efficiency improve, because people, when they are stuck, when they are helpless, there is someone coming forward to uh, take them over the barrier and complete the task. So the organization's tasks get completed, the individual's tasks get completed. So this maximizes the productivity. It positively impacts on the employee performance and the well-being. When an individual realizes that he has done a good job, he is healthy, happy and healthy, and this well-being is an outcome of the OCB. Group cohesiveness is connected to OCB, in the sense the group cohesiveness, which results in OCB amongst the members, will be having an exponential positive impact on the productivity of the team and each individual. And they have more coordination in the work, more bonding in the team, and the team, the more the bonding, the better the communication. The better the communication, the more the flow of information, and the flow of information will enable tasks to be completed in time, in the proper fashion. Here we also talk about feedback. So the feedback in the communication helps to rectify any problems or issues in time, and uh, progress towards completion of or accomplishment of the goals. Optimal resource utilization happens like we talked about people's consensusness, wherein people understand how to use resources, and every employee has got a right on their leave, but then if a person understands that leave is not necessary at the moment, and the person attends to duty and completes some additional job, even if he or she doesn't get paid for it. Now, this kind of a resource utilization, maximizing the resources, optimal usage of the resources is an outcome of the OCB. OCB attracts and retains the best employees. An organization where there is OCB, where OCB is observed or realized, found more often, people are happy. And a happy organization is where everybody wants to belong to, work with, and work in. So it attracts more better people, people with the spirit of helping each other, people with the spirit of learning and growing together, right? So it attracts the best of employees. There is more cooperation with the superiors and the subordinates and the colleagues. And this has got a cyclical effect, and doing good opens to doing more good, and people keep on continuing that relation. They cherish the relation. They enjoy that affiliation with each other. They find every moment to be a learning experience, and they keep doing this good. Okay. It increases the employee's willingness to sacrifice comforts, courtesy and conscientiousness, and the civic virtues. Um, Bring people to a mode, to an understanding where they consider sacrifice to be practical, right? Um, and they try to meet the goals without any additional rewards or expectations. The higher the OCB, the lower the employee turnover or even absenteeism. If I understand that my fellow employees cheer me, help me, assist me, facilitate me, wouldn't that be the wonderful place to go and work? So every morning I would look forward to get back to work, and every evening I leave the workplace happy and will wish to get back again. So people wouldn't remain absent. People would like to continue with such an organization for a longer tenure, and there wouldn't be much of turnover. Okay. OCB brings in a positive impact on productivity, on efficiency, on customer satisfaction, and all this also results in reduction of cost, be it reduction in turnover, be it the good feeling of satisfying fellow colleagues, creating an atmosphere, increasing productivity, making the customer happy. So this is again having a positive domino effect, and more the customers, more the number of satisfied and delighted customers, better will be the business for the organization, and thereby it reduces costs. Costs in the sense like people stay with the organization, so there are lesser recruitments and lesser recruitment costs, lesser training costs, uh, and this helps people a lot and the organization a lot. Helps in creating the social capital. Um, who wouldn't like to have a company of good people, right? Even if one has ill intentions, even if one has selfish intentions, one would always wish to be in the company of good people. So, OCB encourages, promotes, and spreads that social capital, increases the social capital. Something good doesn't mean it will be always beneficial, always productive. Likewise, even OCB has certain pitfalls. What are these? Gender bias. Usually, the a feminine individual or individual expected to be having that softness, that considerateness, that courtesy uh, over male. It's an opinion, right? Maybe true in some cases, but otherwise, it's a general opinion that the women are more courteous or women are more conscientious than male. And this very opinion may lead to expectations from women that they have to be like this, they need to extend their help unsolicited. At the same time, the men will also be expected. Usually they aren't, so they need to put an effort to extend the organizational citizenship, to render that organizational citizenship behavior and help others and bring in that kind of environment. So this is one such biasness, and which leads to an expectation of the citizenship behavior and doing good to others. Okay. The next one is the organizational justice. If some supervisors reward more than the other supervisors, and then there is a difference in these clusters of, say, different clusters, the comparison may lead to some kind of an expectation, right? And OCB wouldn't stand as a consensus and consensus effort. Rather, it would become a demand, right? An expectation, right? Or say it wouldn't no more be a civic virtue, an altruistic effort. Rather, it will be something like the employees expect that I'm doing good, I need some reward, I need some appreciation, right? So it also has a negative impact. So what would happen if there is a difference in the recognition from one team to the other by one superior to the other superior in various clusters? The individuals may gradually abstain from the OCB, right? So that the OCB acts will decrease. And well, once it decreases, it also impacts on the environment and the entire organization. So there may also be some counterproductive behavior amongst those clusters, those groups where the respective superior has not recognized them or rewarded them. And these negative consequences or counterproductive behavior may go to the extent of theft or say a general absenteeism, right? It may range from any. So what we see here is not only the OCB stops, but also certain negative, what do you say, counterproductive behaviors evolve, right? So it should be something like balanced. Okay. The third pitfall that we come across is conditioning. Now, continued expectation of reward, or say by the managers, I mean by the individuals, or uh, people in the organizations are often exhibiting OCD over a period of time. The organization now falls into the habit of expecting the members or the employees to deliver those OCBs as a norm. So the otherwise OCBs are now transforming into norms, and if they transform into norms, well, it may affect the individual's performance as well, right? So it is no more voluntary, no more spontaneous. Rather, it is demanded and expected by the organization. So these are certain pitfalls, and one the manager needs to have a check on such instances and not let these pitfalls take shape in the organization. How then are the OCBs practiced? If there are some pitfalls and one needs to take care about them, uh, though it is an unsolicited action in the organization, still organizations wish, they don't expect, but they wish that that kind of a spirit exists in this organization, and everybody be benefited. Excuse me. Sorry. So, how is OCB in practice? Altruism or civic virtues, or say consensusness or sportsmanship per se, they contribute to promoting. So the organization effectiveness in organization I mean uh, promotes this in different ways. How would what would make, we have seen antecedents now. What we are trying to understand is the organization builds an environment in such a manner that people would tend to exhibit, demonstrate the OCD. So the extent to which the employees exhibit the OCB is basically a function of an individual's ability, uh, motivation, and the opportunity. Ability, because the person must have that skill or competence in order to step forward to help someone. It's a motivation because the person may be competent but may not have the urge. But here, the person will be self-motivated to step forward to use that competence of self to help others. And it is an opportunity because it is unsolicited. Nobody is aware, like when your skill would come into use for another person. So it's an opportunity. So an individual must have that altruistic approach, that empathetic approach, and look for instances where their blessings or skills are of use to else. So, what are the strategies the organization uh, works on to motivate employees to engage in OCD? Is what we are going to discuss now. The sense of belongingness. If an employee has that belongingness towards the organization, towards the work, so that attitude towards the work, the organization, to our fellow workers, if this can be increased, right? The sense of belongingness can be increased amongst the employees will certainly feel encouraged to come forward and exhibit more often the OCBs. And how would the organization bring in that belongingness? The organization conducts a certain weekend parties or some kind of reward functions, or say some kind of get-togethers, picnics, where people informally interact with each other, understand each other, perceive each other better, and and this bonding that they develop will certainly open up the opportunities to step forward to help people. So the office-wide birthday parties or the cultural events that are often conducted by the organization creates that sense of belongingness. Enlightening the supervisors. The supervisors need to be trained to create such atmosphere, create such environment, uh, and also train certain people, or maybe like uh, they devise their own, the supervisor may be encouraged to devise their own way of appreciating, recognizing, rewarding their team, whoever comes up with the OCB, whoever exhibits the OCB. uh, this can be done. Also, organization attempts to recruit the kind of people who possibly can exhibit OCB. Like um, when they recruit, they need to see if the individual is outgoing, attentive, has that courtesy for people, to be an enthusiastic, prospective employee, must have an outlook, positive outlook, and also that can-do attitude one should bear. And if this can be noticed in the recruitment interview, uh, the recruiters should prefer to enroll, to include such kind of recruit such kind of prospects, and and include them in the organization. Uh, and in order to know this, if an individual has got that drive, that enthusiasm, or not, they can even conduct certain psychometric tests to see if an individual has got a concern, consciousness for helping people, or the consensusness to render the organization citizens behavior or exhibit the OCDs. Creating an environment which we discussed, like if the workplace has got such a is designed in a manner that people have access to each other, people can interact more freely, people can seek help. Gradually, that very idea, like see, uh, if I'm approached by a fellow colleague on some instance to help in the future, I mean, think that this is one area where I am resourceful, and I would look for opportunities to be instrumental in helping others in the future whenever an occasion comes. So, if the organization and the superiors create such an environment for the individual employees, they would certainly exhibit OCB as frequently as possible. Last but not the least is the top management's approach towards OCB. They should have an inclination to OCB, to encourage OCB, and to deliver that extra role behavior, to encourage that extra role behavior. Uh, Having discussed OCB, antecedents, forms, consequences, how to practice, the pitfalls, we now are left with one thing, that is, can we measure OCD? And how do we measure OCB? To make things easy, we have considered OCB in two forms broadly, that is OCBO and OCBI. Under OCBO, altruism and courtesy are the individual directed behaviors which can be measured. Sorry. And under OCBO, we have civic virtues, we have conscientiousness, and courtesy, sportsmanship, which are organization directed. So, in each of these category, we can frame certain questions like, uh, do I have the drive to help someone who is struggling to complete a work? So such kind of simple questions can be framed, and then uh, the overall measure can be done. So when we get an idea of the OCB orientation of an individual, and if we can also judge whether this would be a recurring practice or this is a one-time accidental exhibit of OCB. Depending on that, we can encourage the individual uh, to exhibit this behavior more often, which is by rewarding, recognizing. Now, uh, managers need to understand that OCB is a voluntary act, and OCB being a voluntary act cannot be thrusted on individuals. Okay. Um, there's one small point I would like to add on here. Just give me a moment, please. I want to put it in my style of presenting certain things, and here I would like to share a small acronym with you. So OCB, I would call it as a spontaneous, unsolicited action of voluntary execution. It is spontaneous. People do not think like, should I or should I not? It has to be spontaneous. And the spontaneousness to act and extend the help, because like I said, one has to have the ability and motivation to help. So that spontaneous stepping forward to help, right, which is unsolicited. The other person hasn't asked you to help and you are doing it, right? So spontaneous, unsolicited, voluntary. You do it on your own consent, right? Voluntary action. So it is a spontaneous, unsolicited action of voluntary execution. Many times we feel, hey, the fellow is struggling, maybe he needs help. Let him ask, I would do it. So we wait for the person to ask us for help. We shouldn't be doing this. Now, if you as an individual employee have this spontaneous, unsolicited action of voluntary execution, I may have a feeling of I can help, but I do not help. So it is not executed. It doesn't give results. I may have a good feeling I can help if someone asks me. So it doesn't come under the OCB. So if it is to be positive and has to have productive results on the efficiency, effectiveness, and performance of an organization, an individual who exhibits OCB has to be suave. SUAVE, suave. And what is suave? That the spontaneous, unsolicited action of voluntary execution. You develop this, will be welcoming more people to be affiliated with you. The management will recognize you. Your superiors will appreciate you. You will be further encouraged, and uh, we have been talking about an individual's needs in the Maslow's need hierarchy theory. A person who is suave, by the time they retire, take it granted, they will attain the self actualization. You get that satisfaction of contributing to the organization, to the fellow employees, to yourself. If I wish to help a fellow worker on creating a PowerPoint presentation, and I'm pretty good at it, I would step forward to help. In case I could not help the individual, what would be my next action? Say, hey, I stepped forward, but I couldn't help. Is there a way I learn it? So I come back to my desk, I come back to my work area, and I develop that. So what happened here? Because it is not a part of the job role, but we have created a self-motivated interest in rendering that or extending that help, and we understood where we stand. We come back and develop that skill. Now this is true learning. So besides the benefits that OCB, OCB impacts or results in, there is a huge individual benefit as well. There is an introspection an individual does, and this introspection will open up areas of improvement. And when the areas of improvement are worked upon, there is skill development. And this skill development will further increase an individual's productivity, which will be of utility to the organization, the job you are delivering. And having developed the skill, obviously, you will get even positive appraisals, promotions, and you would benefit yourself in a greater way. Not only this, you would become an exemplary for others. You would become a role model for others. And this is how the organization encourages, this is why the organization encourages OCB. OCB these days is something an organization can count on. I guess this is a very brief chapter, but we have discussed things extensively. If the book talks about several contributors, how they have worked upon it, and how from the 1980s the concept of OCB is developing, and today, today it has in a way become an informal agenda of the organization to encourage more of OCB. And I propose an individual to have that swab to benefit self and the organization as well. Thank you.